Okay, so I think we're live for first coffee Q&A, also slash equipment test. So, um, one coffee, and yeah, basically I tried for the Portuguese lesson. I went live with my husband and we had a lot of echo, and now I'm realizing it was because we were in the same apartment, and actual fact there's no echo when I'm on by myself. So obviously when someone else joins in the future, we'll be able to test out as well to see how many can come on and if there's anything we need to do with the sound part. But yeah, this is a great opportunity really to just clarify what Enjoy Madeira is and what people can expect in the future live calls. So with regards to the Portuguese lessons, there's really two main ways that people learn languages. The first is by repetition, and then the other thing is that it's information that they can, put into practice and use, which is of course linked to the second thing, which is actually starting to use it and build from there. And so very often people pay and they do Portuguese lessons and years go by, they still can't string a sentence together. And the main reason is because they only see the material once and then they go to a week later to the next lesson and it's fresh material. Also because the material is kind of like from school textbooks. It's not the kind of stuff they're going to use in everyday life here in Madeira or in the Algarve or whatever. And then of course they're not getting any repetition, which, it's kind of like when you learn songs. We hear a song so many times, even if it's not like something that we particularly like, but then we just know the words. So that, having the repetition with when you're learning a language is really, really useful. And so getting hold of some kind of audio, that you can put on when you're driving, gardening, etc., it's a great way to kind of really get things to click in there. So that's my tips with that. So my Portuguese lessons will be, about the basic stuff, depending on whoever joins, what level they're at as well. It can be adapted. I can also take special requests if there's particular topics people want the content to be around. That's perfectly fine. That's the whole point of this kind of community, is that it's delivering what people are looking for. And so I used to live in the Algarve. I'm now living in Madeira. So, if people also need those regional variations, particularly if they're traveling around Portugal, that's all easy to do as well. And so, you can expect, if you need it, there's the basic stuff. And I will be placing the recordings here in the group. I'm going to start with this one because, this is just a quick opportunity for people to get to know me a little bit. As you can see, I'm here on the sofa, I've got my casual clothes on. I'm almost tempted to call the Portuguese lessons pajama Portuguese, because I think the more people don't have to think about, I've got to get ready for this in any kind of way, as long as they're clothed. No nudes, please. But yeah, as long as we got clothes on, no need for makeup or dressing up or anything like that, because it's a casual thing. And so I'm kind of setting the example with that myself today. And then, of course, going through, I think pronunciation is one of the reasons why people kind of feel a bit shy about testing out their Portuguese. And so, it's really good to get all of that. And then, I did actually make during COVID some lessons. The people that actually, did them and did the repetition with them actually did get talking and whatever. But the other half of the people were the type that needed to be, with accountability in a group and needed kind of that kind of support of other people in the same boat. So hopefully this will cover both, because people will have the recordings and they'll also be able to meet other people that are learning. And of course, if the great thing about it is if people are physically in Madeira, and they get along here on these calls, they've got something in common, like if it is learning Portuguese. People can get study buddies, they can meet up, they can practice, and maybe practicing with other students, instead of on live locals, as a first step, could be something quite interesting as well. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping here. And obviously, it's adding the Portuguese lessons. It's just trying to add more value into the Enjoy Madeira group as well. I think really Enjoy Madeira. The idea came to me because I joined Facebook and other social media platforms years ago. I was probably a bit of a late starter because I do like personal contact, and I'm kind of busy. But yeah, I think that the main attraction for me is you get to share things that you're enjoying and loving, and then you get to see what other people are enjoying and loving. Very often it's friends and family, people maybe you don't get to see on a regular basis, and you get to see them thriving through these mediums, and that's totally awesome. And I joined a lot of moving to Madeira groups, hopefully to be helpful, answer some questions. And, I used to be in the tourism and hospitality world. Now I'm in real estate. So, sometimes people are looking for certain information, which just happens to be, what our profession is as well. So that can be handy. Sometimes you do meet people that then become clients, and then they become friends and blah blah blah. But I think for me, I've never really liked that kind of pushy sales or answering questions that nobody's asking. Basically, I think this thing of popping in links when nobody's kind of asked for anything similar to it is kind of poor taste, really. But even worse than that is this growing trend, of this thing of anonymity or incognito on social media. So obviously Reddit is rife with that, but Facebook also have this anonymous thing as well. And you never really know who's behind there, what their intentions are, but it does seem to give people that thing of, I can be as rude as I want to be. And it does kind of border on bullying sometimes. And it's not just the incognito ones, people with actual profiles and normal lives seem to be venting a lot. People asking an innocent question like, where can I get a good espetada? And people are like, go, don't come here, you're ruining the island. And it's like, come on, Um, I understand that there are some frustrations because, I've been caught up in the same whirlwind because I've been here 20 years. I was a homeowner twice here, bought and sold houses twice. I'm renting again these days. But, if we'd had a crystal ball about what was going to happen here with the real estate market, I mean, things were ridiculously cheap 10 years ago. Now, it's kind of shot up, and it's kind of like if you're looking for property in the mainland Portugal, maybe Faro, Lisbon, Porto, Funchal is kind of up there, right? And so I think, probably it did need to come up a little bit. And obviously salaries and cost of living in the ideal world are going to come up together, right? So that people can get by. Sometimes one spurts off before the other with inflation. And then, of course, those in power, if they want people to vote for them, they've got to work to try to solve those kind of issues. But yeah, if we'd had a crystal ball, we probably would have all got a bank loan and bought a couple of houses and we'd all be renting them out now. And maybe retiring early, I don't know. But I can understand it happened very quickly. and not many of us kind of knew, and we probably didn't take advantage of some of those opportunities, and suddenly we're in this world where living here costs a bit more, especially accommodation. And I can understand, people are thinking, okay, everybody's coming to Madeira, and what about me? I want to thrive and whatever. So yeah, some of the locals, especially those that are struggling a bit and feeling the pinch, they've started to kind of vent on people that are just, maybe they've come here on holiday and they're like, wow, this what happened to me. I got here thinking, oh, I'll be Thompson rep. It was Thompson Holidays at the time. I'll do a 6-month season. I'll have a blast, and then I'll go to the Algarve again. And I just kept staying and staying and staying because Madeira just far exceeded my expectations. I mean, it's such a paradise. And this kind of happens. People come on holiday and they think, wait a minute, this could be a place that I could go to regular. I could go there for more time, maybe even want to move long term. And they start to come into the groups and look for information, and then half of the comments are just, for me, totally unnecessary. I subscribe to nothing good to say, best to say nothing, live and let live. Nobody's perfect, of course, but I think that that kind of current trend certainly doesn't reflect what Madeirians really are like. I mean, my husband is born and bred from Madeira. He has a big family. Obviously, being here 20 years, I've met a lot of people. I've got my own friends and connections here and all the rest of it. So, and I am fluent. So bilingual, that definitely helps. And so I do know what people are thinking and talking about and all the rest of it. I haven't got my head in the sand. And, most people really are kind of grateful that this is a thriving tourist destination, because the majority of people, in some way, their livelihood is connected to that, And so definitely, that kind of ranting online, it doesn't kind of reflect how people are. And so wanted to slip that in just in case anyone sees this and they're like, okay, I'm thinking about going there. Yeah, I mean, I recently met with my friend Monica, and she got to the stage as well, being on the Facebook. She was like, okay, Madeirians are all like against us now. And then she kind of realized, no, it's just a bit of frustration. And then talking to people, it's that thing, sometimes people get that Dutch courage of, they're online, they can vent a little bit because people don't know them in person, and then you see the same person in person, and they're the sweetest. But they're really kind of cool. So yeah, sometimes it doesn't mean that the people suck. It's just that particular bad habit, the behavior sucks, I think, in my opinion. So what I wanted to provide here, because school is a platform where you can go live, you can record, you can interact with people, and it also has its kind of filters. It's got automatic filters to keep out spam and bots and all that kind of stuff. And it's very clever the way that it is that if someone's coming in and they're not, they know what kind of genuine members and how they behave and all the rest. If it's off, like they come up red, like, okay, this could be a risky person for your group. And so I think this is something I've not seen on other social media platforms. It kind of protects people that are in there, and alerts you, and it gives you a chance to kind of reach out to wherever it's coming from and say, hey, this group is about answering questions with kindness and sharing. But I think being a cool member, and supporting other people, answering their questions more so than just posting and trying to, I don't know, I think, you see these trends in groups that they want to get sales, they want to get customers, and they kind of infiltrate some of these groups. That's not something that is cool. And I think really school's whole dynamic, I'm very much on board with, is behave in a social media setting like you would in real life. So, no one shows up to a party and just starts blaring all the stuff that they're into just randomly, right? They start conversation, and then they kind of they click with someone genuinely, and then they start to find out what they've got in common, and it's kind of like a natural organic thing. And I think social media should be the same, right? We're not here to be harassing people, we're here to be of help in some way. And so, yeah, that's what we can expect. I've got so many photographs, so I'm going to start organizing and posting more photographs in here. Personally, I'm a keen walker, and also, as I say, I have invited someone into the group, hopefully that's going to join, but otherwise I've got backup people if necessary. But having someone in here that's more of like an expert walker, I think, and that does it kind of much more frequently even than I do, because I've seen, it is a popular theme about Madeira, so it's always good to have that information. And I know people in pretty much every walk of life. So even if there isn't a particular expert here in the group, and a question is kind of technical to do with a certain topic, we could even invite people to come in if we see that a lot of people are want to know about the same thing. Otherwise, I can just, put you in contact with that person, and then, you can directly see with them if they actually can help you. And if not, it's not cost anything, right? I'm a firm believer as well that what we put out in life comes back to us as well in some way, and that is no reason to be cool. But it's certainly a bit of a silver lining, if you kind of help people where you can. Generally, when you need something, it's, someone kind of steps up and helps out. So that's certainly been my experience anyway. But just a little bit about what I love about Madeira. As I say, it did really blow my socks off when I came here. I mean, I'd been raised in the Algarve. I was used to sunshine, beautiful beaches, friendly people, and nice scenery. I kind of fully expected to kind of get a bit bored in a 6 months holiday season here. At the most, I kind of thought, maybe I'll do two. And then, as I started to, I guess I was a bit spoiled because being a Thompson rep, it then became TUI later on. They started putting me on all the excursions. So, jeep tours, coach tours, Levada walks with the official guides, all kinds of different experiences. And, I was just totally in awe. I totally fell in love with this place. And I was like, wow, definitely there's more to Madeira than meets the eye. And it's kind of weird because no one had ever talked about Madeira. I don't recall it ever coming up even at school, even though I went to school in the mainland. It is kind of a small island when you think about it in a world perspective. And I really didn't know where it was, so when they wanted to send me here, I really had to look it up because I was convinced they're going to send me to the Algarve. I know it like the back of my hand, or I did at the time. And they were like, nope, we want you to go to Madeira. So I was like, okay, let's go check it out. And yeah, I thought, it's an island, I'll probably really, after kind of getting stuck in and enjoying it for 6 months to a year, likely I'll want to move on. So, 20 years later, still here, kind of says it all. And I meet people all the time, and basically they were just passing through for whatever reason. And either they come here a lot and they've got some other bases as well, or they kind of like myself made it their main place. And so yeah, I'm definitely not alone. The safety thing is a great benefit here. I mean, I didn't live in any particular dangerous places before. I lived in the UK and Portugal, but certainly I felt even safer, and felt that I didn't, even as a single person or as a woman going around on her own, didn't feel any situations that I really needed to worry about. And so I very much appreciated that. Other things about Madeira is okay. I'm getting a sign this is too long. Okay, so let's save some stuff for next time, I guess. And of course, when people join, I always welcome them with some messages and ask them what they want to see in here as well. So I'm going to wrap up. And yeah, maybe no one will see this, maybe people will, but in any case, it's really good to see how easy it is to connect people on here, and how cool this platform is. And so yeah, I hope that more people will join and that we can share information with each other about all the cool things and some of the technical stuff as well, some problem solving about Madeira. And yeah, that they can be a place also free of haters and spam and all that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, that's it for today then. And yeah, we're going to move the live sessions to during the week for April. In March, it was Saturday, and we're still building up members as well. That was my bag for not really inviting anyone. I'm just trying to learn as much as I could. But yeah, going to try during the week, kind of early evening. Hopefully that will be a better time for people to join in. If not, try and adapt to the members as we go. So yeah, keep on enjoying Madeira. Happy Easter and happy Saturday to anyone that tunes in for this. I'm Paula. I am the main person and founder of this group. But you will be getting to meet Zach at some point, who is totally awesome, also bilingual like myself, and he is a real life relocation and visa expert. And so all of that stuff is kind of a bit boring for me. So it's awesome. He's, stepped up to help with that side of things. And, as we see the needs, we'll add other experts as well. So yes, that's it. And see you in the next one. Bye.